Sermon of Imam Ali al-Islam. Sermon 2.
I can't see the screen. Oh wait, no, I can. It's fine. Delivered on return from Sifin, Arabia, from before proclamation of prophethood. I praise Allah, seeking completion of His blessing, submitting to His glory and expecting safety from committing His sins. I invoke His help, being in need of sufficiency of protection. He whom He guides does not go astray. He with whom He is hostile gets no protection. He whom He supports does not remain needy. Praise is most weighty of all that is weighed, and the most valuable of all that is treasured. I stand witness that there is no God but Allah the One. He has no like. My testimony has been tested in its frankness, and its essence is our belief. We shall cling to it forever till we live, and shall store it for facing the tribulation that will overtake us, because it is the foundation stone of belief, Iman, the first step towards good actions and divine pleasure. It is the means to keep Satan away. I also stand witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his slave and his prophet. Allah sent him with the illustrious religion, effective emblem, written book, effulgent light, sparkling gleam, and decisive injunction, in order to dispel doubts, present clear proofs, and administer warning through signs and to warn of the punishments. At that time, people had fallen in vices whereby the rope of religion had been broken, the pillars of belief have been shaken, principles have been sacrilege, systems have now become topsy-turvy, openings were narrow, passage was dark, and guidance was unknown, and darkness prevailed. Allah was being disobeyed, Satan was been given support and had been forsaken, and belief had been forsaken. As a result, the pillars of religion fell down, its traces could not be discerned, its passages could not be destroyed, and its streets had fallen into decay. People obeyed Satan and treaded his paths. They sought water from his watering places, through and treaded upon them with their feet. The vices stood on their toes in full stature, and the people immersed in them were strayed, perplexed, ignorant, and seduced, as though in a good house with bad neighbors. Instead of sleep, they had wakefulness, and for antimony they had tears in their eyes. They were in a land where the learned were in bridle, keeping their mouths shut, while the ignorant were honored. In the same sermon, Amir al-Mu'mineen referred to Al-Nabi, the household of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, as under. They are for the trustees of his secrets, shelter for his affairs, source knowledge about him, center of his wisdom, valley for his books, and mountain of his religion. With them Allah straightened the bend of religion's back and removed the trembling of his limbs. In the same sermon, he spoke about the hypocrites. They sowed vices, watered them with deception, and harvested destruction. Ali Muhammad, none in the Islamic community can be taken at par with the progeny of the Prophet, Ali Muhammad. One who is under the obligation cannot be matched with them. They are the foundation of religion and the pillar of the belief. The forward runner has to turn back to them, while the follower has to overtake them. They possess the chief characteristics for persevering. In their favor exists the will and succession of the Prophet. This is the time when the right has returned to its owner and diverted to its center of return.
Sermon 3.
Known as the Sermon of Ash-Shikia. Beware, by Allah, the son of Abu Quhafa, Abu Bakr, dressed himself with it, the caliphate, and he certainly knew that my position in relation to it was the same as the position of the axis in relation to the handmill. The flood water flows down from me, and the bird cannot fly up to me. I put a curtain against the caliphate and kept it myself detached from it. Then I began to think whether I should assault or endure calmly the blinding darkness of tribulations, wherein the grown up are made feeble, and the young grow old, and the true believer acts under strain till he meets Allah on his death. Proposes patience in absence of supports. I found that endurance thereon was wiser, so I adopted patience, although there was a pricking in the eye, and suffocation and mortification in the throat. I watched the plundering of my inheritance until the first one went his way, but handed over the caliphate to Ibn al-Khattab himself. Then he quoted Al-Asha's verse. My days are now past on the camel's back in difficulty, while there were days of ease, when I enjoyed the company of Jabir's brother Hayyan. It is strange that during his lifetime he wished to be released from the caliphate, but he confirmed before the other one after his death. No doubt these two shared its orders strictly among themselves. This one put the caliphate in a tough enclosure where the utterance was haughty and the touch was rough. Mistakes were in plenty, and so also the excuses therefore. One in contact with it was like the rider of an unruly camel. If he pulled up its rein, the left nostril would be slit, but if he let it loose, he would be thrown. Consequently, by Allah, people got involved in recklessness, wickedness, unsteadiness, and deviation. Nevertheless, I remained patient despite length of period and stiffness of trial, till when he went his way of death, and he put matter of caliphate in a group and regarded me to be one of them. But good heavens, what had I to do with this consultation? Was any doubt about me with regard to the first of them, and I was now considered akin to these ones? But I remained low when they were low, and I flew high when they flew high. One of them turned against me because of this hatred, and the other got inclined the other way due to his in-law relationship, and this thing and that thing. To the third man of these, he stood up with heavy breast, and between his dung and fodder, with him and his children and his grandfather, Umayyah, also stood up swallowing up Allah's wealth like a camel, devouring the foliage of spring, till his robe broke down, his actions finished him, and his gluttony brought him down prostrate. Allegiance paid to Ali. At that moment, nothing took me by surprise, but the crowd of people rushing to me. It advanced towards me from every side like the mane of the hyena, so much that Hassan and Hussein were getting crushed, and both the ends of my shoulder garment were torn. They collected around me like a herd of sheep and goats. When I took up the reins of government, one party broke away while the other turned disobedient, while the rest began acting wrongfully as if they had not heard the word of Allah saying, as I abode in the hereafter, we assign it for those who intend not to exalt themselves in the earth, not to make them mischief therein, and the end is best for the pious ones. Quran 28:83. Yes, by Allah, they had heard it and understood it, but the world appeared glittering in their eyes, and its embellishments seduced them. Behold, by him who put the grain to grow and created living beings. If people had not come to me and supporters had not exhausted the argument, if there had been no pledge of Allah that would they learned to the effect and they should not acquiesce the gluttony of the oppressor and the hunger of the oppressed, I would have cast the rope of the caliphate on its own shoulders. I would have given the last one the same treatment as to the first one. Then you would have seen that in my view of this world of yours is no better than the sneezing of a goat. It is said when Amir al-Mu'mineen reached here in his sermon, a man of Iraq stood up and handed him over a writing. Amir al-Mu'mineen began looking at it. When Ibn Abbas said, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, I wish you resumed your sermon from where you broke it." Thereupon he replied, "O Ibn Abbas, it was like the foam of a camel which gushed out but subsided." Ibn Abbas says that he never grieved over any utterance as he did over this one, because Amir al-Mu'mineen could not finish it as he wished to. Al-Radi said the words in this sermon are like the rider of a camel. It means to convey when a camel rider is stiff in drawing up the rein, then in this scuffle the nostril gets bruised. But if you let it loose in spite of the camel's unruliness, it would throw him somewhere and would get out of control. Ashnak and Naka is used when the rider holds up the rein and raises the camel's head upwards. In the same sense, the word Shnaka al-Naka is used. Ibn as-Sikit has mentioned in this Isla al-Mantiq. Amir al-Mu'mineen said that Ashnaka Ayha instead of Ashnaqaha. This is because he has used this word in harmony with La Salaha, and harmony could only be retained only by using both in the same form. Thus, Amir al-Mu'mineen has used Ashnaqalaha as in place of in Rafa alaha Rasaha. That is, it stops it by holding up the reins.
Okay, beta. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.